Chair. Mr. Chair.
Louisa Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to focus on two supplementary order papers, one of which we support and the other we don't. I'll start with the one that we support, and that is the supplementary order paper in my colleague Jacinda Ardern's name. And it's great that the ministers also supported the name change. So the bill will be called the Child Protection Child Sex Offender Government Agency Registration Bill. And I just want to quote from the supplementary order paper, because then it'll make sense why we're not supporting the second SOP. So it says in the explanatory note, this title better reflects the content and scope of the bill by specifying that the register that the bill proposes is limited to information between government agencies and not a public register. So therein I move to the supplementary order paper in Derek Ball's name, and I don't think we've actually adequately addressed why we're not supporting it. So I'm going to take the time to explain why we're not. I think that when we look at the register, to get on the register you have to be a sex offender, so you have to have been convicted, therefore you have to have gone to prison. And so I really want to focus on sentencing principles actually in trying to explain our position. So the sentence must be no more severe than is necessary to meet the purposes of sentencing, and the overall punishment must be proportionate to the gravity of the offending behaviour. And so if you start from that principle or premise, then why we don't support this bill is because actually it will infringe on fundamental human rights that we all have to protections of our privacy. And the privacy that I want to emphasise is the privacy of our information. So there should be rules that govern the collection and handling of our personal data. And I think that when looking at why we don't support a public register, also has to be coupled, and that's why I brought up the whole principles of sentencing, what the Sentencing Act or sentencing enables us to do as a society. Because those offenders who are so heinous that we need to monitor, some of them forever, actually can be sentenced to preventative detention. And so sentences such as that protect society from individuals whose behaviour is so unacceptable that actually there are going to be limits on their freedoms. And we also have public protection orders which are in place to prevent individuals who have been sentenced, but then actually on their release we say there is something about them and their lack of rehabilitation, because I also want to focus on one of the corrections strategic objectives, which is about the management and rehabilitation of offenders. And so we would hope people would go through our prison system and they would be managed in a way that then enables them to be rehabilitated and to rejoin society. But the reality is that some of our members aren't able to do that. And so we rely on the government to protect us. And we don't, I think, want to set up a scenario where actually we breach individuals' privacy and allow, I guess, vigilantism on individuals because we don't want to live in a society like that. We want to live in a society actually where we're friends to the people who live beside us, our neighbours. You know, we get along with members of our community because we all go to the same RSA or the Cosy Club or play squash together or whatever it might be. And so we don't want to live in a society where, you know, people who have committed an offence, served their time, and now back in the community actually have to continue to pay a sentence for whatever transgression they've had in their past. So we do, you know, we want to give people another opportunity to be part of society. And so fundamentally, I'm sorry to say, colleague Derek Ball, that is really why we will not support your supplementary order paper. I think that your intention to bring this to the House was valid, because what you wanted to do was to enable, and particularly I think we've seen lately, parents of young children give them a choice about how they manage the young children in some of our communities where they don't know that a sex offender is living just down the road from school or...
Okay. Carmel Sepuloni, final call.
Thank you, Mr Chair.